Hi everyone, hope you're doing well from wherever you're watching this channel, depending on your time zone. Now we have the National Dialogue Committee that's going on. And if you listen to the presentation that took place, because people are now giving their views in terms of how the economy should be run, the cost of living, political question here, in terms of free and fair election, among other many things. So we have the Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, who got a chance to address the committee. And I can tell you here, the Controller of Budget has just exposed William Ruto and his government completely. If we have any questions to ask why the cost of living is high, why the borrowing is going on without tangible projects, anything to relate to the borrowing, why the expenditure is high, then the Controller of Budget has just answered that question. And it's very simple. Remember, at one point, Raila Odinga told us that he will reach a point when he will tell his supporters not to pay taxes to this government. Because according to him, our taxes should be reflected in development value for our taxes. We have to see it. It has never happened. And the Controller of Budget is exposing this. In 2022 borrowing, come up to now even, it is showing in the record the borrowing was going on, but there is no any project that can be linked to the borrowing up to now. But the borrowing is on. So the question is, where is the money that is being borrowed going to? They have to answer that question. She's talking about, even she used an example of her own salary. And she reveals that her salary has been budgeted for 3 times what she's earning. She remained with her salary, but it was budgeted for the entire year 3 times. The question is, this salary that has been multiplied by 3, she's earning 1. Where this 2 is going? They exaggerate the salary. So where is this money going? She talked about the VAT on food. Why is everything expensive? You tax, you borrow. But money used for parting. That's the word she used. And she used even an example of taking a loan. And then you go and use that money for parting. Maybe unaenda kwa ba unatumia kukunywa. Listen to her shortly, then from here we're going to continue with this discussion to understand how this regime is operating. I'm telling you, the reality is that this government can solve the problem of high cost of living in 1 minute time. Just in a blink of an eye, that problem can be solved. But they're not willing. They're only interested on milking Kenyans dry. Listen to the Control of Budget exposing this regime.
Exaggerations are in the National Treasury. And let me just give one example. When I was doing the budget for Consolidated Fund Services, this is where my salary is paid from. I found out that my salary was budgeted at 3 times what I'm paid. I am the only state officer in my institution. So there's nothing like confusion there. I'm all alone. So I asked them, why is the budget showing 3 times what my annual salary is? And it was like that for all the state officers.
What was the answer, madam?
Chairman, I have not received the answer to date. The other area is borrowing without a plan. This one, I'm using it in a very colloquial sense, in the sense that I have been approving payments of public debt, and I've looked at what we are paying for. Many of those things cannot be identified. You just find a name of why we borrowed. You cannot trace it to anything. You cannot tell what the money was spent for, and therefore there was no economic gain from that borrowing. It is just like taking Fuliza and then you go to the bar and drink it all. You go back home, you'll find your family hungry, and you'll find all those other things. So I don't really need to gainsay this. That is what we have been doing for a long time. I have discussed with the Auditor General, and we have said, can we track these loans and see what we did with them? Yes, I think it will help us going forward. But just so you know, honorable members, I did a report to the Committee on Public Debt, and they told me, please check on the loans which we have taken recently in 2022. Tell us if we can link them with a project. They were shocked. We could not. We found some ambiguous definitions of the loans, and the Treasury could not tell us what really we were going to do with those loans. So unless we wake up and link our borrowing to actual economic activity, will not come out of this hole. That I can say without fear of contradiction. Looking at the prices of kerosene, the price of makaa, the price of cooking fuel generally is a really sore area because no one can do without it. The third thing I would be looking at is VAT on food. And I've looked at all sorts of taxes here. VAT on food. Now, when we introduce VAT on unga, a staple food, then you know the very lowly are going to suffer. Indeed, we know that we are in a cash crunch. But this cash crunch ni ile ya kujitakia, because like I told you before, we have been borrowing and partying with borrowed money. That is why we are where we are. So we must look very carefully at our spending and reduce this spending.
Now we are continuing this panel discussion, but just a quick request for those who are watching and you have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing. To our returning subscribers, I must say thank you so much. And again, to all our viewers, please give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much, and back to this discussion. Now, having listened to that presentation, tell me, do you really even have trust in this government? No wonder KRA was complaining that Kenyans are now evading doing transaction online when they are buying goods and services. Wamekataa mambo ya mobile money. And even the owners of the business are not willing to do so. People are trying to evade these taxes because of obvious reasons. They are not seeing any value for their tax. The worst thing and the most painful thing is when you give out your money, but you cannot see any tangible things. No any single project you can feel, you can see, you can relate with. But taxes are being collected. They collect it religiously without fail. You look at 2023-2024 finance bill, one of the most dangerous bill we have ever had. It is poisonous to our pocket. But what is happening here? You have seen how the controller budget is revealing everything. She gave an example of her salary. And he's not alone. Just imagine how many people have their salaries exaggerated. This is just a control of budget, one individual. Just imagine kama kuna commissioners mahali pengine na kazi zingine, people with big salaries, then you are exaggerating those salaries. We are paying people double salary, triple salary, they get one, the rest is going to specific individuals' pocket. Na hiyo ni ushuru yako. Hii mshahara wanalipa ni ushuru yako. Just imagine that's how your taxes is being spent. And they are painfully taxing you. Hayo si maneno yangu. That is Margaret Nyakango, the controller of budget. She has used her own example. So the national budget has been exaggerated. People are collecting huge amount of money, but we cannot see value for that money because they are focusing on pocketing our taxes. She went further to talk about, as I said, in terms of overtaxing on food products. What Nyakango is telling Ruto and that committee is that we have a solution, but this government is not willing to take that solution. We have enough even to pay for our taxes, to pay for our loan, and above all, they can still run the government. But the issue is that they are not focusing on helping people to have affordable life in this country, because they are only focusing on collecting. But when it comes to spending, they are using our money for partying. Niambie, wewe unasikiaje ukisikia matamushi kama hayo? The person who said this is a person who understands the operation in this government because he's the one approving some of the budget when they want to spend the money. She signed on that one. Yeye anaweka pale kidole. So if the high cost of living is the one that took people to the street and this community cannot solve, we have a reason to be back on the street, because the controller budget is telling us that there is a solution, but these people are not willing to solve. They are only willing to milk us dry. We have been seeing Ruto going out, and in terms of borrowing, he has increased. Tell me one tangible project that he has just initiated. Mradi tu mmoja ambayo inaendelea kwa hii nchi. Hata Hustler Fund alikuja decreased by half. Haiko. And imagine the highest amount people were able to borrow, it was only 500 shillings. Mwenye alienda zaidi naambiwa ilikuwa 800. Not even 1,000. And they said the more you borrow, the more you increase your chances of getting that. But now imagine they have reduced by half. That means even if you borrow 20 times, there's no way your rating will go high in terms of borrowing. Where's improve? There is nothing that you can relate to William Ruto in terms of project, but we are seeing borrowing. So we have cartels who are focused to collect taxes and use it for their own benefit. They're even doing so in terms of salaries. So tell me, who can have confidence in such kind of a government? Who can have confidence in such kind of government? Kenya is on wrong path. Our economy is being destroyed. Soon, if Ruto will not be careful, people are going to protest against paying taxes.